Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Mystical Visions. Now, before we dive into the video, I realized last week's video got a lot of views out of nowhere. So, lots of new faces here. Hello and welcome. And I hope you're excited for today's reading. So, today we're going to take a look at shadow work and more specifically, which aspects of your shadow self is coming up to be healed right now. And some advice on how you can heal these shadow aspects and why you should be focusing on them right now. So today we have seashells because seashells to me kind of echo our own sounds back to us. Like, you know, when you're at the beach and you hold up a seashell to your ear and it kind of echoes the sound of your blood rushing and it sounds like waves. And I feel like that's a really good metaphor for recognizing our own shadows. And also I found some really cool seashells and I wanted to put them on here. So, for those of you who are not familiar, shadow work is basically just confronting aspects of ourselves that we may not consider to be our brightest spot. We may not consider to be our most powerful assets, but they are generally a combination of, you know, traumas and fears and just life events that have taught us things that may not necessarily be as helpful as we think they are. So we've all got shadows, and I personally believe that most of our life is just living through these shadows and working through them and healing them so that we can be better versions of ourselves. So I'm feeling a little shadow worky today, so hopefully you guys are as well, and hopefully some of this reading resonates with you. So as always, we have 3 piles. Pile 1 is this spirally guy. Can we focus? Thank you. Pile 2 is this long boy. And pile number 3 is this little tiny shell that has like an amber stripe on it. So go ahead and pick your pile. Timestamps as always are in the description below. If this reading resonates, then please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And yeah, let's do some shadow work. I'll see you at your pile. Hello, Pile 1, and welcome to your shadow work reading. So, if you chose this long, spirally guy, then this is very much a message for you today. And I've actually laid these out in a very specific order. So, these first 2 cards are going to show us what your shadow work is all about today. These 2 are going to show us how it came to be in your life, how this shadow was created in your psyche. We have 3 cards here that will explain the situation further, and we have 3 clarifiers, and then we will pull 2 oracle cards on camera for some advice on how you can grow as a person and grow through this. So I'm excited. Let's just dive right in. So for our first 2 cards, we have what this shadow is all about. Our first card is the Hermit in reverse, paired with the 7 Star Sisters. Birthing Creations, Tapestry of Life, Expression. Pile 1, do you suffer from a fear of loneliness in some way? Or just a fear of being alone with your thoughts, or just by yourself in your own company? I feel like there is a strong indicator here that you are someone who tries to just avoid alone time and avoid you time. Like, if given a choice, you would rather be around people, because that way it means you don't have to think about things that worry you or things that may not be going your way. There's almost like an escapism energy here, which is interesting because with the Oracle card here, Birthing Creation's Tapestry of Life Expression, I feel like there is something inside you that you are a little afraid to express or to put out into the world. And there's this feeling of, if I'm alone, I know I'm going to think about, coming out in a sense. Maybe this is, a literal coming out process, but it could also be figurative. Maybe you're into some things that may be a little fringe, a little out there, or at least just very different to what the community around you believes at the moment. And maybe there's that fear of, if I allow myself to be alone, these desires to be my true self will become so loud that I won't be able to avoid them. And I feel like your shadow work for this current season, whenever you're watching this, by the way, may be centered around learning to listen to that voice that comes out to play when you're alone. But let's see how this... Yeah, that was honking. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but confirmation. How did this shadow come to be, pile number 1? We have death. And we have unbound. Releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. Which is very interesting because death goes really, like, the concept of death goes very strongly with soul patterns and past lives, right? So maybe this is something that you may have picked up from a past life, this fear of being alone, and maybe it's reflected in a sense of... Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the words. It almost feels like you won't allow yourself to say and do the things that you want to do and say, because you almost feel tied to someone or something. Maybe there's like a reputation thing that you need to uphold. Maybe it's a family thing. And you worry about coming out in whatever sense that may be, and the repercussions that might have on your image and the image of the people closest to you. But how did this come to be? It could be from like a literal death moment. It could be literal, like, death of someone close to you, and that may have triggered some fears of loneliness. Or it could be when a cycle in your life ended so abruptly that you didn't have a moment to even consider the repercussions or consider future plans moving forward. And maybe that has caused this kind of almost FOMO, this fear of, if I take time to myself, or if I allow alone time to happen, then I might miss out on the things that I identify with. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's almost this fear of, what if I'm alone too long? and people forget me, or people move on and start to hang out with someone else, or start to replace me. That's it. It's that fear of being replaced. That's what we're working on right now, pile number one. So let's get some clarification, because this is very interesting energy. We have the King of Cups in reverse. We have the Seven of Wands in reverse. Lots of reversals for you, pile one. I get the feeling like you've had to backtrack a little bit. Or you're holding yourself back when you could be out there living the best life that you possibly could. And we have the Moon in reverse. Maybe there's a mother wound here. It doesn't have to be literally your mother, but there's this energy where your understanding of what maternal is has kind of taken a hit, maybe. And that's interesting because this says birthing creations. The reason I bring up a mother wound is because of the moon here. The moon usually represents the mother, the parent, that Cancerian energy. So generally this speaks about having clarity, to have the moon in reverse, and that's usually a good thing. But in this context, it is definitely indicating a mother wound to me. I tend to read these intuitively, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. But with the King of Cups in reverse, it definitely feels like a sense of, okay, I think this fear, this shadow wounds thing, the reason it's here is because of a lack of emotional maturity. And I'm not trying to call you immature, pile one, not at all. It certainly feels like you've had to grow up a little too soon. But it feels like there is some growing to do that will really help you kind of relax. But yeah, with the Seven of Wands in reverse, it will help you kind of relax into this idea of being by yourself, of enjoying your own company. It feels a little bit like you're trying to escape your own self, or you're trying to run away from seeing who you are. And that probably comes from that probably comes from a place of emotional immaturity. Which it sounds like a diss, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not, okay? I think I read it several times, a little piece of information that says emotionally we tend to be stunted at the age of our biggest trauma. And it almost feels like this feeling of, it's kind of like an abandonment wound, but kind of not. It feels, okay, here's what it feels like. It feels like everyone you love is right there, and you are with them. And your biggest fear is that you will walk away from them. Not that they will walk away from you, but that you will kind of leave. It's kind of like you fear your own escapist tendencies. That is interesting because I'm going to get personal. That's kind of a fear I have. That's kind of a fear I have myself. That fear of, what if one day I just decide this is not my thing anymore because I've done it so many times before. And it's a scary prospect. So that is definitely something to work through, pile number one. But let's take a look at your clarifiers. To clarify the King of Cups in reverse, we have the Five of Swords. Yeah, definitely some conflict energy. It almost feels like she's mourning here, which, again, with this death energy, maybe you did gain this kind of, well, not gain, but you were afflicted with this shadow, I guess, through literal death, through literal, like, loss of some sort. And there's a part of you, I hear inner child, there's like an inner child wound where the inner child is kind of mourning this loss still, but you haven't allowed yourself to process this because you worry that the emotion might be too much to handle. And so you're kind of avoiding facing yourself about this loss. To clarify the Seven of Wands in reverse, we have the Four of Wands in reverse. Maybe this is a relationship that broke down, pile number one. Maybe this is kind of like either a long-term relationship, a familial relationship, a spousal relationship, something that broke down and gave you this wound. Because the Four of Wands upright usually talks about marriage and celebration, commitment. Ooh, interesting, because this talks about soul patterns and contracts. Maybe there is a literal contract. This could be about business. It could be about marriage. It could be about anything that requires a lot of legalese and that kind of breakdown of communication in whatever situation that is. It feels like you're not allowing yourself to process it completely because you worry what you might find about yourself in the process. Clarifying the Moon in reverse, we have the Page of Coins in reverse. There is so many reversals. Part one, I feel like to some extent, you are still living in the past a little bit. And that's purely because you won't allow yourself to move forward by processing all of this. I feel like you're in your own way. You are forcing yourself to... Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe the reason you're subconsciously avoiding this alone time and this work on yourself is because you worry that you might heal, and once you heal you won't need this situation anymore. And what does that make you then, right? Who do you become if you are not this person? And maybe there's a sense of, if I move on from this, if I give myself alone time, I will work through this. And if I work through this, I will be a different person. What if that different person is not someone I like or someone I enjoy? Or what if that different person ends up all alone? Or what if that different person ends up failing at the things that I want to do right now? There definitely seems to be kind of a fear of... I keep hearing fear of success. And that doesn't necessarily mean, success in like a monetary term or in monetary terms or in like a career type deal or education type deal or whatever. It almost feels like success with working through the situation. There's this fear of, what if I'm too good at moving on from this? And what if that means I lose everything I know? But the truth is, pile one, if you weren't supposed to move on from this, you wouldn't be getting all these hits to spend alone time. You wouldn't feel this fear of spending alone time if you weren't supposed to. I truly believe that what makes us most afraid on our healing journey is exactly what will make us the happiest. And 9 times out of 10, it's just taking a leap of faith. But for the Page of Coins in reverse, it almost feels like a false start. Pages usually talk about getting started on a journey, and the Page of Coins talks about almost like a sense of starting on a new financial journey, I suppose, or like just building something, investing in something new, or starting to invest in something new, and then it falls apart. So maybe this was a situation that kind of had potential but didn't really go anywhere. And there was like I keep hearing communication breakdown. This definitely feels like a relationship of some sort. It doesn't have to be like a relationship, but it could be anything. And maybe that's created a wound, or maybe that's triggered a pre-existing feeling of like loss and that kind of thing. And you worry that if you do spend time alone by yourself processing this, you might not need the situation anymore. And then what happens? And then who do you become? That's interesting. Okay, pile number 1. Let's take a look at some advice on how you can grow past this feeling. So I'm going to shuffle this on camera. Advice. Oh, thank you. That's a bit much. Advice for pile number 1, please. Thank you. We have your life is a canvas. Artist, manifestation, creative, accountability. That's interesting because this card here talks about birthing creations. Maybe this situation will bring you, or maybe working through the situation will bring you to a new level of creativity. Maybe there's a chance that you might find a new skill, you might find a new passion for something, and you might, or alternatively, maybe a creative endeavor will help you process this faster or process it better and come out of it without anything too drastic. I keep hearing it will be gentler to process it through creativity as opposed to just going at it directly. It might be a little gentler on your spirit to use creativity in some way. I feel like you are a creative person, maybe not in the traditional sense, but I definitely feel like something like painting or writing or craft, something like that will just allow you to free up some mental space and energy so you can actually sit down and have a think about the things that you need to think about. So definitely consider either taking up or indulging in a pre-existing creative hobbies. One final card, please. Any advice on how pile number 1 can grow past this or grow through this shadow work? Any advice for pile number 1, please? Yeah, this one's a little... Oh, there we go. Thank you. Boundaries. Whoa. Share your voice. Okay, I'm going to take them both because they insist. Share your voice. Come out of the cave. Persecution. Expression. Pile 1. Maybe there is a coming out of some sort that you're being called to just go for it. That's an early message we got, isn't it? But we have boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? Yeah, it almost feels like you are establishing boundaries, but they may not be the healthy kinds. They may be the self-sabotaging kinds. It feels like, just see how all these hands are kind of reaching out to this character and she's just like pushing them all away. And generally this card talks about you need to establish boundaries. I mean, it literally says, where do you need to establish better boundaries? But in the context of this reading and intuitively, I get the feeling that your boundaries may be a little too high up, in the sense of you are letting no one in. And no one can process all of this alone. And maybe it is time to come out of your to come out of your shell a little bit, and to allow people to be there for you, to vent and talk things out and cry and ask for a shoulder to lean on. I feel like you might be a hyper independent person, and trust me, I know exactly what that feels like. But a lot of the times it can get very, very lonely. And the advice here is to allow people to be there for you the way that you are for them. And whatever this situation is, you don't have to work through it all by yourself. And in fact, if you work through it all by yourself, you're bound to come out with a more biased sense of who you are, which may not be the complete big picture, right? So definitely seek people out, seek help, seek comfort in the people that you love, because sure, most of the message was about learning to face yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. And I feel like you're the kind of person who currently, you feel lonely even when you're in a crowd. And I definitely think that will reduce quite a bit when you sort of allow people into your life emotionally, not just physically. Yeah, maybe those are the unhealthy boundaries. You physically restrain people out, you push people out of your life physically, but emotionally, but at the same time you physically want to be around them. And that's kind of causing this cognitive dissonance that's got you all jumbled up, pile number one. So that's your reading for today. It's an interesting one, but whatever this is, I really hope you're able to work through it safely and happily and with compassion for yourself. Thank you so much for spending some time and sharing your energy with me and letting me read for you today. I really hope it brought you some clarity and support. And good luck with whatever you're working through. You can do it. I know you can. If this reading resonated, please remember to like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below. And stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel. And wow, I'm stumbling on my words. I'm so sorry. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your shadow work reading. So if you picked this smooth long boy with a little bit of stripy design, then this is your reading. So I do apologize, I've had to go and run and make me a cup of green tea because I've been talking for half an hour and it's really cold out and my throat is like a little all over the place. So the way I'm structuring this reading is we have two cards that tell us what your shadow self is, what shadow you need to work through right now. We have these two cards that will tell us how it came to be in your life. Now, the rest of these cards, these top three, are going to tell us more details, just explain the whole situation. And these three are going to clarify the top row of cards. And then we'll take a couple of advice cards in on camera. We'll shuffle them on camera. So okay, let's get started. So what is your shadow that you need to currently work on? We have justice. And we have the seas of Mintaka, bringing unconsciousness to light. Interesting. You may have some Libra placements, Pile 2. Maybe there's somewhere you feel like injustice has been done to you. And maybe there's a sense of, I need to make this right, or I need to make sure that I'm treated right. But it almost feels like there's this, there's a subconscious kind of fear of asking for justice, rather, bringing justice to yourself, asking to be treated better, asking for what is rightfully yours, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. Maybe you need to work on teaching yourselves that the visions that you see, the dreams that you dream, are not just, random thoughts. They are important and they are given to you for a reason. It's the potential that you see in the world, in your life. It's not just a random thought or a random desire. It has been handed to you personally for you to bring into this world. And maybe there's kind of a fear of, what if these dreams, these desires, this goal that I have, what if it's just unrealistic? What if it's never going to work out? What if no one's supposed to achieve it? Well, if no one was supposed to achieve it, no one would have dreamt of it, right? You see the potential. I feel like you are gifted with clairvoyance of some sort, and you're able to pretty much visualize exactly what you want, exactly who you want to be. And there's this feeling of, you need to do yourself justice by allowing yourself to follow this dream. So maybe your shadow that you need to work through is that fear of, it's not possible. Or even I'm hearing, it's not fair for me to have what I want if there are so many people out there who couldn't even dream of living that life. Maybe that's that sense of injustice where you feel like achieving your goal would give you a privilege that not many people have. And maybe that would make you feel guilt about it. And it's this feeling of like you're sabotaging your goals before you even start working on them. So how did this shadow come to be into your psyche? We have the Page of Coins. Page of Coins is back on the scene, you guys. And we have Soul Family. Call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. Interesting. Because these are not necessarily, cards that would suggest something is wrong. Because in that, direct sense, and both of these are upright, both these cards, it talks about, the Page of Coins upright talks about investing in something or getting started on a new journey that you're investing in, maybe physically, maybe financially. But why would this be here in this position? Okay, let's look at the imagery actually, because we have a couple of stags here. We have 2 whales, 2 dolphins, 2 humans, 2 more dolphins here in this imagery. And maybe there's a partnership of some sort. Yep, there's that bike to confirm our theories. Maybe there's a partnership. Oh, because justice is a Libra card. Libra usually talks about partners and balance and stuff. Maybe there is imbalance somewhere that you want to bring balance to. Maybe that's the justice that you're seeking. Or maybe this came from a previous partnership, this fear of maybe you were with someone or spent a lot of time with someone who didn't really think your dreams realistic, didn't really think you had what it took to achieve the things that you need to achieve. Probably they didn't even think it possible. Maybe you hung out with pessimists a lot, and it's okay. It takes all kinds of people to make the world go round. But I feel like you are an optimist by nature. You have always been, and somewhere along the line, you've kind of forgotten that. And maybe the move is to seek out your soul family, your soul tribe, the people who will actually genuinely light you up and who will see the potential in you. Your reading seems to be adding up already, Paltu. Maybe it's about changing the people that you surround yourself with. Maybe that's how you work through this shadow. But let's take a look at some more cards. Your first card we have is the Knight of Cups. Yeah, I didn't want to make assumptions about this being like a romantic partner. But maybe it is about a romantic partner. Maybe in the past, a romantic partner who didn't necessarily see you for all of your glory and all of your light. And maybe they kind of dulled you down. I hate saying these things about people because I like to believe no one purely exists to bring other people down. Everyone works from their shadow. But maybe this person kind of dimmed your light just simply by refusing to acknowledge it. And maybe that's something that you learned over time through this relationship, which it is so important to be careful about whom we surround ourselves with. We have the King of Wands. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that you are such an optimist. You have such a powerful light inside of you. You wield that light. You have this potential to be this almost authority on your passions or authority on, this thing that you want to do so much. You have it in you. And I'm going to be honest, all of these cards are very positive, like they're giving me very positive energy. And so it might just be that you've worked through most of it, through most of this shadow that had kept you down. And maybe this reading is just confirmation that, the universe sees you doing all this work and you are being acknowledged and recognized. See, this character is holding up a medal as well. And yeah, maybe you're being rewarded very soon, maybe with a divine partner, who will see you for who you are, which is this King of Wands energy. Our final card is the Two of Coins in reverse. Usually talks about an imbalance. Yeah, maybe this was an imbalance connection that brought you down and gave you this kind of complex about I'm not good enough, my dreams are not valid, it doesn't matter what I want out of life, I'm never going to get it, that kind of thing. Which, look, I've had that happen multiple times in multiple different types of relationships, and it's it kind of messes with your mind because it kind of forces you to kind of believe that it's just not possible at all. Not that you are not good enough, but it's just simply not possible. What you want is just not a thing that happens. And maybe that's something you've dealt with recently or in the past. And this message here today is about working through that. It's about recognizing that actually I couldn't possibly take this person's opinion quite so seriously because it is an imbalanced connection. There is no way they could ever match up to my energy or be able to reciprocate what I give them. And so if there is no balance, then they're clearly not at my frequency. It's not a match, it's a mismatch. And so obviously their opinion comes from a place that is not where I want to be. So is their opinion really valid in this situation? That's the question to ask yourself, pile 2. Okay, let's get some clarifiers. So the Knight of Cups is clarified by the King of Coins. Do you see that? We've jumped up from the page to the king, and we have 2 kings. Yeah, you're definitely in your king energy, pile 2. It doesn't matter what gender you identify with. You're definitely in your sovereign emperor energy. You're definitely in your I am the sole authority on my situation type of energy. And I'm not going to say what came to my mind because it's not going to be appropriate for YouTube, but you're very much in your strength right now. Or if you don't feel that way, you're very much about to be in your strength, pile 2. And there is, especially in like emotional relationships or romantic relationships, I feel like you're very much about to step into an era of authority, of where you don't feel the need to dull yourself down to match someone's energy. And that is what attracts the perfect kind of person into your life. When you step out and say, actually, no, this is not good enough for me, that's when the universe looks at you and says, so, okay, you're ready for a different kind of beat. And that's when you draw in the people that really match your energy and are really able to fill your cup the way you fill theirs. It's so beautiful. I'm so excited for you, pal, too. To clarify the King of Wands, we have the 6 of Coins in reverse. Yeah. This is definitely I'm so excited for you, pal 2. Oh my goodness. So you're stepping into an energy where you are not overgiving. You are not overgiving anymore. You are giving a healthy amount that you then receive in return. Oh, that is so exciting. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. You're moving away from these like imbalanced connections where it's not going to keep you down anymore. In fact, do you see here how like this stag is kind of trying to steal the coin from this person? That's kind of what your previous relationship feels like to me, is where you had this light, and instead of matching your light with their own, whoever this person was kind of tried to steal it from you so they could keep it for themselves. And in the process, neither of you had the light. And well, that's kind of the energy I'm getting. But the good news is you've stepped away from that, or you're about to step away from that. If you're looking for confirmation, I was going to say conversation. Maybe the person you meet next is really good with conversation, like you communicate really well. And maybe that's how you recognize a divine partner as opposed to a convenient partner. That sounds so awful. I'm so sorry. But sometimes we step into relationships out of convenience. We've all done it. Like, come on now. But maybe look for the people that you have really good communication with. That's going to be your soul family. People you talk on the phone with a lot and you never run out of things to say, or people you text all day and you never run out of things to say. That's your soul family, pal 2. Our final clarifier under the 2 of Coins in reverse is the 3 of Cups. reasons to celebrate. That's what I'm talking about. This almost feels like a singles night out. Like when you and your besties are all single and you're out, partying because you don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe anyone your time or your attention or anything like that. It feels like freedom. That's what it feels like, Pile 2. So I am so excited for you to experience this joy. It's so exhilarating. It kind of gives me the same beat as there's photos going around of Nicole Kidman on her day after she left Tom Cruise, and you just see her running up or like down a hill, just looking so carefree and so happy. That's the vibe I'm getting. That's the feeling. And it will be so worth it when you feel it. Pile 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and get you some advice cards. So, advice on how Pile 2 can work through this shadow, which it almost feels like the shadow part is over, but let's see. Called, soul gifts and training. It is time to step up. That's what I'm talking about, Pile 2. This is not just about your emotional well-being, which is, of course, like a huge thing that you should be concerned with at all times. But it almost feels like whatever this situation was, it kind of took you away from even considering that you might have gifts and skills that you are here to use and help the world in some way, or impact the world in some way. It doesn't always have to be about helping, but there's this feeling of now that it feels kind of like a block has been lifted, or like a shroud that was around you has been lifted, and you're finally able to see, actually, there's a lot of light out there that mirrors my own. And one of these things is definitely calling to me, and now I'm free to pursue it without the judgment of anyone whose opinion that I consider important. If there's no one whose opinion I consider important that isn't me, then I'm free to do whatever I want, however I see fit. Within reason, of course. Like, don't go around hurting people, but I feel like you know that. But yeah, I feel like there's so much that you are yet to achieve, Pile 2. And it almost feels like whatever this situation was, it kind of made you feel, for lack of a better word, kind of worn down and old, like old beyond your years. Like tired, and there wasn't much life left, so I might as well just keep on keeping on and maybe hope for one day a sense of fulfillment, that kind of I feel like this situation aged you, and not in a good way. And now that you've stepped away from it, there's this kind of youthful exuberance coming for you that it kind of almost like hits you like a freight train, and you realize, wait a minute, there was so much of myself that I had put away, I had put up in the attic where no one could see it, just to appease someone who refuses to grow within themselves. And now that you're away from that situation, Pile 2, it feels like it's time to explore what your soul is here to do. It's time to have a look at maybe what your purpose is, why you're here, what brings you joy, what strikes that match under you. So, one final advice card for my pile number 2, please. How can we work through this shadow energy? One final advice card. Oh, I feel so much optimism kind of like seeping out of a narrow channel, and then the dam bursts and it's just everywhere and it feels like sunshine. Oh, Your energy is so beautiful, Paltu, and I'm so excited for you to find it again. Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. Yes, I feel like this goes really well with the Seas of Mintaka. Maybe you have some like strong starseed traits, by the way, aside from the reading, just in general. Maybe you can explore Mintaka or Lemuria. But more importantly, it feels like a lot of your purpose is about seeing these visions in your mind's eye and then kind of like extracting them and condensing them into physical form. Maybe you're a visual thinker, right? Or maybe you're a creator or like a craftsperson of some sort. And there's this feeling of you can see this in such a way that no one else can. You have these grand visions and ideas that no one else has. And your purpose in life is to bring them and like show the rest of us what you're seeing. And you've been blocked from that for far too long. In fact, if it was even only just for a day, that's far too long. And it's time to kind of close your eyes and see what heaven is to you. And then once you've seen it, open your eyes and bring it here. Oh, that's so wonderful, Pile 2. So that's your reading. I'm so excited to see what you do. If it resonated, please do remember to like, comment, let me know, and subscribe to my channel for more readings. But yeah, I'm so excited for you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I really hope this resonated. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and sharing your energy with me and letting me read for you. This was really, really exciting. Stick around to the outro for another reading, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Pile number 3, hello. I am feeling very energized because I've just had a massive green tea in me, and pile 2 is actually very... I'm not going to spoil it. Okay. So anyway, if you've picked this little baby shell with a little amber stripe on it, it almost makes me think of like Nemo, like that, like sideways. Do you see it? Maybe you guys like Finding Nemo a lot. But if you picked that pile, then this is your reading. Welcome. Today we're going to take a look at your shadow self, or your shadow that needs work right now. So the way I've structured this reading is we have 2 cards that will tell us what your shadow is that you need to work on right now. We have 2 cards that will tell us how this came to be in your existence. And then we have 3 cards to explain the situation and 3 clarifiers. And then towards the end, we'll shuffle some oracle cards for some advice. And yeah, let's find out. So let's go. Our first 2 cards are the Queen of Coins and I Remember. Soul Plan, the Fated Life versus the Destiny Life. Yeah, this is all about a sense of independence for you, pile 3. I feel like your shadow self is kind of worried about whether you'll survive on your own, whether you would make it on your own. And, or alternatively, maybe you're not happy professionally. Maybe you have half a mind to like quit your work and start a business or do something independently, freelance maybe. And you kind of just want to do it, but there's a fear of what if it fails? What if I am not enough to, do what I want to do, to be successful on my own terms? And the shadow aspect of that is kind of tied into maybe what... Okay, sorry. I'm trying to like understand the concept and explain it to you at the same time. But basically, it almost feels like say now someone is born into not the nicest of circumstances. Maybe there are several disadvantages based on where they grew up or the situation they had growing up, all that kind of thing. And when you grow up in a difficult situation, you're kind of always told that there is a very limited number of things you can do to get out of that situation. And once you get out, you are to never come back to it. Okay? And that is, pretty solid advice. But what happens a lot of the time is we tend to hold on to that advice and almost do anything we can to not go back to where we came from. And we will sometimes do things that don't even make us happy. For instance, working a job that we hate, knowing fully well that there is a solid chance that you might be successful if you do what you want to do. But because it's an unfamiliar versus a comfortable familiar, it's a scary situation where, am I just throwing words out? I hope I'm not just throwing words out. I hope this is making sense. But it's kind of like the known devil is better than the unknown angel. I don't know how that saying goes. But there's this fear of, will I be successful enough on my own? Or should I just stick to working for someone else? And this reading here today is going to try and remind you that just because you are fated from based off your circumstances, just because you are fated to live on certain terms, does not mean that that has to be your destiny. Because we create our own destiny, as we've learned from the amazing Disney movie Brave. Maybe you should go watch that. Maybe that's an important one. Maybe go on like a Disney/Pixar movie binge, because we had Finding Nemo come up earlier, didn't we? That show also makes me think of Flounder from The Little Mermaid. Maybe just go on like a childhood memory movie tour and maybe that will bring you a sense of whimsy and excitement that might bypass this fear. But wow, I've been talking for a while. Let's take a look at how this shadow aspect of you even came to be. We have the Nine of Swords. Yep, there she is. That's our anxiety card. Yeah, it definitely feels... And do you see how there's like a baby in the picture? It almost feels like she's passing judgment for what this baby's life is going to be like. And the baby doesn't even know. Maybe you've had authority figures early in your life that kind of decided your life for you. And it brought you to this point where you feel unsatisfied and you know you can do better, you're capable, but there is still that lingering fear of, well, what if they are right? Or what if I upset them by making my own choices? And that's that's the challenge here, pile 3. So we also have don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? Look at the imagery here. It almost feels like she's purposefully closed her eyes to what could be. And there's 2 identical people behind her that have also closed their eyes to what could be. This could be a generational thing, which makes sense with the authority figure. So in a lot of families, the elders kind of decide your life for you. And that's because they've had that done for them growing up as well. And on the cycle continues. Maybe you're here to break that cycle. And maybe you're here to change the idea of what your successors are fated to have. That's so cool. Pal 3, you've been burdened with some heavy responsibility, but you know what? It'll be so worth it if you just go out there and do it, because you won't just be doing it for you, but also for everyone who comes after you. That is so powerful. So let's look at some explanation for the situation, because I really want to dive in. We have the Page of Cups in reverse. Oh my goodness. So in this particular deck, with the imagery here, do you see the red thread going around? That's supposed to be the thread of fate that ties lovers or soulmates together. And we have that in reverse. And in this context, it's almost making me think of how, like, your destiny may not be what you think you're allowed to do. I said that backwards. What you think you're allowed or fated to do may not be who you are, or may not be what you really want and what you are meant to do in this lifetime. And the Page of Cups in reverse kind of, especially with this imagery, today's reading has been more about the imagery than the actual, like, card itself. That's so interesting. And we have the Three of Wands in reverse. Again, oh my goodness. So the Three of Wands in reverse talks about staying home instead of, like, going out into the big world and exploring. Maybe you come from a home where you're, like, so tight-knit that it's almost stifling to a certain extent. And maybe that's what's hindered this entire, like, potential that you have to go out there and do amazing things. The final card we have is the Star. Oh. Yeah, the Star talks about optimism, looking forward to something. Maybe you have so many dreams. You have so many things that you've wished for, but you almost feel like you're not allowed to go get them because someone that you perceive to be an authority figure said you can't. And so you're just sat here with your dreams, just holding on to, you know, the potential that, oh, one day when I'm older, or when I'm freer, or when I'm in a position of more authority or power, one day I'll fulfill my dreams. But that's not going to happen, Pile 3, until you consciously make that choice to step out of this mindset, if not the situation as a whole. It's not easy to walk away from what's comfortable. Of course not. If it was easy, everyone would do it. We wouldn't have any issues whatsoever. But it is quite simple. And I think you know what you need to do. Even if it doesn't mean physically, like, moving out of the house or whatever, it could just be mentally building a boundary where you tell yourself, okay, this person is outside of my boundary and they're not allowed in. And so what they say about me or what they think about me is not going to affect me as a person. And maybe that's what will help you, like, get over this hurdle of feeling like almost like an imposter, like you don't have the authority to decide what you get to have in this life. So let's take a look at some clarifiers. The Page of Cups in reverse is clarified by the Queen of Wands in reverse. The Queen of Wands to me is the ultimate passion card. Yeah, you have the King of Wands, which is the highest card in the suit, but the Queen of Wands to me, she definitely feels like the more untamed, fiery version of that Wands energy. And maybe there's this fear of, like, if I let this out, is it going to consume me? If I go ahead and do what I want to do, Is it going to get to a point where I forget who I am and I forget everything I've learned? But the truth is, once we learn things, it's so hard to unlearn them, which is ironically what you probably need to do more than anything else. But you're not going to lose who you are, pile 3. If anything, you'll find who you really are. And if that means losing certain aspects of your previous self, that's a sacrifice that you will definitely enjoy making. You'll happily throw it all away if it means you get to be your truest, highest self. So to clarify the 3 of Wands in reverse, we have the King of Coins. Oh, we have the King and the Queen of Coins. A matched pair. Oh, that's lovely. So, yeah, there's... Okay, so that's under the 3 of Wands in reverse. Maybe there's a paternal figure, actually. A father or grandfather figure who seems to have made these choices for you, who seems to have decided that they are the ones who will tell you what to do with your life. And that's what's keeping you stuck. Because do you see how it almost... So normally I don't get this from this card whatsoever. I get a solid, grounded, amazing father figure from this card. But today, it almost feels like this turtle is you, and this, this tree, it's kind of, you see the roots? The tree kind of feels like this authority figure, whoever this is, who has kind of sunken their roots into you and kind of is sucking you dry of all your potential just to make you conform to what they want out of you. And this probably sounds like a very harsh reading, pile 3. And if you don't want to, take this advice, that's completely fine. Leave it here. Someone else will find it helpful. That's okay. But I'm not here to mince words with you. This is kind of how I feel about your situation. This is kind of the information that I'm receiving, where it definitely feels like a masculine authority type figure. It doesn't literally have to be a male person, but it does feel a bit like a father energy or a grandfather energy, but like the tyrant aspect of it, where they're kind of controlling you and controlling what you do, who you speak to, who you see, where you go, like that kind of thing, just because they have an ideal in their mind of how things have always been done, and they consider that to be their legacy, is them choosing for you. And your job right now is to create at least like an emotional boundary, if nothing else. If you're not in a position to create any other type of boundary, create an emotional boundary where you eventually get to a point where their opinions do not shake you whatsoever. And the card clarifying the star is the moon in reverse. Yeah, I definitely see some clarity coming your way. And maybe once you create that boundary, that clarity will kind of show up. Maybe it will point you to your North Star as well. Maybe it will show you what you are supposed to do in this lifetime outside of, all of this influence. Pile 3. And maybe there's kind of an absence of a feminine energy in your life right now. Maybe everything is so structured and so like point A to point B, and you're not allowed any creative freedom, that you're missing that feminine aspect of, gentleness and exploring the darkness or exploring the unknown, and, you know, sort of slowly growing from the inside out, slowly expressing from the inside out, as opposed to everything has to be paperwork, everything has to be down, you know, in perfect order, all of that kind of thing. I feel like you would do well to almost cultivate, or what's another word, nurture the femininity inside you. Again, it doesn't mean, you know, female in the biological sense or anything like that. The feminine aspect of energy is just that gentler, nurturing, wild, untamed type of energy. We spoke of that with the Queen of Wands, didn't we? That wild, untamed energy. Maybe that's what you need to embrace going forward, pile 3. So let's go ahead and get you some advice right now. So what's the advice for my pile number 3 with this situation? How can they grow through this? I should say that, yeah, there we go. I should say that your cards were probably like the most chaotic. Oh, this one fell to the floor when I was shuffling initially for like this. Oh, that is so crazy. So your cards have been going all over the place. They've been falling in my lap. They've been falling off my desk onto the floor. They've been coming out in bunches rather than individually. There's definitely a lot of like anxious energy. So maybe like it might help to get like a mental health consult, because trust me, the sooner you get help, the easier your life gets. Like I procrastinated it for the longest time, and looking back, it just felt like I could have done so much more with all that time if I'd just gotten help when I needed it. So if you definitely feel like you live in a constant state of anxiety or worry or fear, maybe get a mental health consultation, and that would genuinely help you. Okay, so your advice, we have the courageous peony. Multifaceted, unique nature. Let yourself be seen. That goes perfectly hand in hand with this don't dim to fit in card. Yeah, pile 3, I feel like whoever this person is, they have pushed you into such a state of hiding almost. Like they've kind of told you there's nothing good about standing out. They've kind of taught you that it's only safe to kind of stick to what you know and stick with the crowd. Whereas you are not here to do that. You are here to be the shining star. You are here to be someone that everyone looks up to. I get this very strong energy of like successes, like the future generations, like you're supposed to impact them in a very strong, profound way. And you can only do that if you're willing to, you know, take the courageous step to force yourself out of the situation, whatever it takes. Let yourself be seen, pile 3. It's so worth it. You may lose some friends along the way. You may lose some people you love along the way, but I promise you what's out there for you is so much better for you. Any final advice for my pile number 3, please? Oh. Have you calmed down just now? Because this is the best shuffle we've had all reading for you. Pile number 3. It feels like your energy is grounded a little bit right now. Okay, I'm just going to take that one. Transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level. Deep healing. Didn't I just say it feels like your energy is shifted? Yeah. Whatever this shadow aspect is, once you've worked through this, it's not just going to transform you emotionally or mentally. It will almost feel like a physical transformation. A lot of the times, well, most times, our emotional and mental state has a huge impact on how our bodies function. And you probably know this from when you've had difficult days and you looked in the mirror and you just did not feel right about your body, or you've had sleepless nights and your body reflects that, things like that. Our bodies are a reflection of our minds. And when you work on healing this, once you've gone through this and made better choices for yourself, part 3, you'll start to see that not only do you feel better, you look better, and you feel a lot healthier and a lot more active and just better nourished. And that's when it'll hit you, oh my goodness, I've actually done this. I've actually done this healing by myself, for myself, and for everyone that comes after me. Yeah, that's wow. Okay, there's some really, really important transformations coming your way, part 3. I'm really excited for you. But the key is to not allow fear to guide you, be that your fear or someone else's. You are here to do amazing things, not just for yourself, but for everyone that comes after you. And I need you to do this healing for those people. Okay? So that's your reading for today, pile number 3. Thank you so much for spending some time and sharing your energy with me and allowing me to read for you today. I can't wait for you to grow through this and see everything there is out there that life has to offer. But if this reading resonated, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out so much. Stick around to the end of the reading, or to the outro, for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.